There is a strange contradiction inside you, one that you can feel but struggle to explain. You have ambition, you have dreams, you have a vision of a life far beyond where you are now. You see it so clearly in your mind, the person you could be, the success you could have, the life that feels so real, so possible. And yet, you don't move, not because you don't want to, not because you don't care, but because something inside you keeps holding you back. You tell yourself, I'll start tomorrow. You make promises to yourself, promises you genuinely mean in the moment. But then the day comes, and nothing changes. You wait for the right moment, for the perfect conditions, for motivation to strike like lightning and force you into action. But the truth is, tomorrow never comes, because waiting creates more waiting. Days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and before you even realize it, you are stuck. You look back and wonder where all that time went. You think about all the things you could have done, and it hurts, because you know deep down that you should be further ahead. But let me tell you something. You are not lazy. Laziness is a word people use to describe a deeper struggle they do not understand. What you call laziness is not a lack of ambition. It is a blockage. It is a resistance. It is an invisible force keeping you trapped in hesitation, keeping you from stepping into the person you were meant to be. This is why no matter how much you try to force yourself into action, no matter how much pressure you put on yourself, you still find yourself stuck in the same place. Because the problem is not you. The problem is the war between your potential and your fear. Because stepping into your true potential means stepping into the unknown. It means exposing yourself to failure, to judgment, to the possibility that you might not be good enough. And that is terrifying. So instead, your mind chooses safety. It convinces you to wait, to plan, to prepare just a little longer. And before you know it, nothing happens. Because the truth is, ambition without action is a spiritual trap. It gives you just enough hope to believe in a better future, but not enough momentum to actually create it. And if you do not break free from it, you will spend your life in a cycle of frustration, knowing deep down that you were meant for more, but never reaching it. A life of waiting, of almost, of potential that was never realized. But that does not have to be your story, because right now, you have a choice to break the cycle, to step beyond hesitation, to finally take the first step toward everything you have ever wanted. And I will show you how. Most people believe that laziness is a lack of motivation. They assume that if they could just summon enough willpower, if they could just find the right push, the right moment of inspiration, everything would change. But they are wrong. Laziness is not the absence of ambition. It is not a lack of passion or desire. It is not proof that you are careless or incapable. Laziness is the symptom of something far deeper, something unseen, something unspoken, something most people will never stop long enough to truly understand. For those who feel deep inside that they are meant for more, laziness is not an accident. It is not just a bad habit or a personality trait that needs fixing. It is a defense mechanism, a shield your mind constructs to protect you from the full weight of your own potential. Because stepping into your power is not just about achieving more, it is about becoming more. And becoming more requires destroying the version of yourself that is still clinging to the illusion of safety. You are not lazy because you don't care. You are lazy because stepping into your true potential demands that you leave behind the comfort of who you are now. And your mind fears what happens when you finally let go of that comfort. Because when you truly commit, when you go all in, there is no excuse left, no distractions to blame, no circumstances to hide behind, no outside forces to point at. It will be just you and the truth. If you fail, you will have to own that failure completely. If you struggle, you will have to confront the reality that success is harder than you expected. If things do not go as planned, you will have to face the brutal honesty of your own limitations, and that terrifies you. So instead, you do nothing, not because you don't want success, but because success demands transformation. And transformation is painful. It demands that you shatter the old versions of yourself, that you break free from the thought patterns that keep you small, that you let go of the identity that has kept you comfortable in stagnation. It demands that you step into uncertainty, into the unknown, into a space where you have no guarantees, only the possibility of either greatness or failure. And that is why you feel trapped, because the part of you that wants more and the part of you that fears more are locked in battle, a silent war between who you are and who you could become, a struggle between expansion and resistance, between courage and comfort, between your highest self and the version of you that refuses to change. And every day that you remain still, every moment that you choose hesitation over movement, you are not just wasting time, you are reinforcing the version of yourself that is afraid to evolve. And the longer this battle goes unresolved, the stronger your resistance becomes, until one day you no longer feel the pull of ambition, until your dreams stop feeling urgent, until you wake up and realize that you have settled into a life that is far smaller than what you once believed was possible. And that, more than anything, is the true danger of laziness. Not that it keeps you from taking action today, but that it slowly convinces you that you were never meant for more in the first place. And until you resolve this war, nothing will change. Procrastination is not just a delay in action, it is a karmic loop, an invisible cycle that binds you to stagnation, trapping you in the same patterns day after day. Every time you tell yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," you are not simply postponing a task. You are reinforcing an identity. You are teaching your subconscious mind that waiting is your default state, that hesitation is normal, that your dreams can always be delayed. And the more you do this, the stronger the loop becomes. You are not just pausing your progress, you are programming yourself to continue waiting indefinitely, because procrastination does not reset each morning. It accumulates, it builds upon itself, growing heavier, more ingrained, more difficult to escape. What starts as a single moment of hesitation becomes a habit. That habit becomes an identity, and that identity becomes a prison, one where you see yourself as someone who doesn't take action. At first, you feel the resistance, but still believe you will change. You still hold on to the illusion that one day I'll be different, but that day never comes. Because every time you choose inaction, you strengthen the belief that you are someone who waits. And soon, the idea of taking action feels foreign. You begin to see discipline as something that belongs to other people. You convince yourself that you're just not the kind of person who follows through. And once that belief sets in, breaking free feels nearly impossible. This is why procrastination is not just a habit, it is an energetic state, a vibrational frequency that alters the course of your life. And the longer you remain in this state, the harder it becomes to rise out of it. Because not only do you lose momentum, you forget what movement even feels like. You become comfortable in stagnation. You stop resisting it. You stop seeing it as a problem. And before you know it, the dreams that once burned inside you start to fade, not because they were impossible, not because you weren't capable, but because you spent so long postponing them that they withered from neglect. Think of it like a heavy boulder sitting at the top of a hill. At first, pushing it forward feels nearly impossible. It resists every effort, every ounce of energy you put into moving it. So you hesitate. You take a step back and tell yourself, "I'll do it later when I have more strength." But what you don't realize is that every moment you wait, the boulder gets heavier. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically. And eventually you stop trying to push it at all. You sit beside it. You build a life around it. You convince yourself that maybe you were never meant to move it in the first place. And then one day, you wake up and realize that you are not at the top of the hill anymore. The world has moved on without you. People who started with far less strength, far fewer resources, have pushed their own boulders downhill, gaining momentum, accelerating into success, into transformation. And you are still standing at the same place, not because you weren't capable, but because you spent too long waiting to feel ready. This is the karmic cost of procrastination. Every moment of hesitation feeds the cycle. Every excuse strengthens its grip. Every day you delay, the loop tightens around you. But here's the truth, the cycle can be broken. And the longer you have been trapped, the more powerful your transformation will be when you finally escape. But breaking free requires more than just a fleeting burst of motivation. It requires a complete, energetic shift, a shift in identity, a shift in how you see yourself. Because discipline is not just about what you do, it is about who you are willing to become. And only when you make that choice, fully, completely, without hesitation, will you finally step outside the loop and reclaim the life that was meant to be yours. The first mistake people make when trying to escape stagnation is believing that they need to force motivation, as if waiting for the perfect wave of inspiration will suddenly ignite their drive and transform them into someone who takes action effortlessly. But this is a lie. Motivation is unpredictable. It is fleeting, unreliable. Some days it comes in great waves, lifting you with excitement, making action feel effortless. Other days, it is nowhere to be found, leaving you stranded in hesitation, drowning in overthinking, paralyzed by indecision. And so you wait. You tell yourself, once I feel ready, I'll start. Once I feel inspired, I'll take action. Once I have more energy, more clarity, more certainty, then I'll finally move. But readiness never comes. And what you don't realize is that the very act of waiting for motivation is what keeps you stuck, because the key to escaping stagnation is not motivation, it is momentum. Momentum is different. Momentum does not ask how you feel. Momentum does not wait for the perfect moment. It does not care whether you are tired, uninspired, or uncertain. Momentum simply moves, and once it starts, it does not stop. The difference between those who succeed and those who remain stuck is not that the successful ones always feel motivated. It's that they have mastered the art of creating momentum, regardless of how they feel. And momentum, once created, sustains itself. The body in motion wants to stay in motion. The mind in movement wants to continue moving. But when you are stagnant, when you have been still for too long, motion begins to feel foreign. Resistance grows. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to move. And so, instead of beginning, you delay. Instead of taking the first step, you overthink. Instead of creating, you consume. Instead of moving, you sit still, hoping that at some point, the energy will magically appear to pull you out of stagnation. But it won't. Not unless you create it yourself. Not unless you disrupt the loop with action. Small, deliberate, almost insignificant actions that bypass your resistance and break the energetic cycle of stillness. Because the mind wants to resist anything that feels too big, too overwhelming, too different from what it is used to. This is why trying to force yourself into massive change all at once rarely works. You don't break stagnation by attempting to climb the entire mountain in one day. You break stagnation by moving a single stone, by proving to yourself that movement is possible, by taking an action so small, so simple, so effortless that it tricks your mind into moving without resistance. And once you take that first step, something happens, something shifts, the energy changes, the stillness breaks, and what once felt impossible suddenly feels lighter, because now you are no longer stuck, you are moving, and movement leads to more movement. It is not about forcing motivation, it is about creating momentum, and once momentum begins, it carries you forward, eliminating the need for constant motivation, because movement itself becomes your new normal. This is why you must stop waiting for motivation and start creating energy through action, not by setting overwhelming goals, not by waiting for clarity, not by making grand plans that only exist in your head, but by moving now, by disrupting the pattern of inaction with something small but deliberate. Not an hour of work, just 5 minutes, not a full transformation, just one step, not a perfect plan, just imperfect action. Clean your desk, stretch your body, walk outside for a few minutes, drink a glass of water, write a single sentence, respond to one message, do anything that interrupts the stillness. Because the moment you break that pattern, even in the smallest way, you shift everything. Your mind shifts, your energy shifts, your identity shifts, and suddenly action no longer feels impossible. Because the truth is, you don't need motivation, you need motion. And motion begins when you decide to move. Not later, not tomorrow, but right now. The world has convinced you that success is about struggle, that the ones who make it are those who grind the hardest, who sacrifice sleep, who push themselves to the edge of exhaustion in an endless pursuit of greatness. But this is a lie. The truth is, success is not about force. It is not about grinding yourself down to nothing. It is not about fighting against life, pushing endlessly, exhausting yourself in the process. Success is about alignment. It is about stepping into a rhythm where movement feels natural, where action flows from you, where you are not forcing but allowing. The most successful people are not those who work the hardest. They are those who understand the nature of energy. They do not fight resistance. They dissolve it. They do not wait for motivation. They create momentum. They do not force themselves to act. They build systems where action is inevitable. Because here is the truth. When you move with energy instead of against it, life becomes effortless. The river does not force its way to the ocean. It flows there, effortlessly, naturally, because that is where it is meant to go. The same is true for you. You were not meant to fight your way through life. You were meant to flow into who you are meant to become. But right now, you hesitate. You stand at the edge of action, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for clarity, waiting to feel ready. But readiness is an illusion. The river does not wait for the perfect current to begin moving. It simply moves. The tree does not wait for permission to grow. It simply grows. The sun does not hesitate to rise. It simply rises. So why do you wait? Why do you hold yourself back from becoming who you were meant to be? Why do you tell yourself that you need more time, more confidence, more proof before you start? There is nothing more to wait for. You already know what you need to do. You already feel the pull towards something greater. The only thing left is action. And here is what nobody tells you about action. You do not need to see the whole path. You do not need to have it all figured out. You do not need absolute certainty. You just need to take one step, and then another, and then another. And before you know it, you are in motion. And motion creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. Imagine this. A man stands at the base of a mountain. For years, he has dreamed of reaching the peak. He has imagined the view from the top, the feeling of standing above the world, the moment of victory. But he does not move. Why? Because he is obsessed with knowing every step before he takes the first one. He wants to see the entire journey mapped out perfectly before he begins. He wants guarantees. He wants certainty. And because of this, he stays stuck at the base year after year, trapped in his own hesitation. What he does not realize is that the path only reveals itself to those who walk it, that the mountain will not show him the way until he begins to climb, that the first step is the only one he ever needed to take. And the same is true for you. You do not need absolute clarity. You do not need the perfect plan. You do not need every answer. You just need to start, and the path will unfold as you move. This is your choice. You can keep waiting. You can keep hesitating. You can keep living inside the loop of inaction, convincing yourself that someday, eventually, you will begin. Or you can break free. You can step forward. You can create momentum. You can stop thinking, stop waiting, stop doubting, and just begin. Right now, not tomorrow, not later, not when you feel ready. No, because you were never meant to wait. You were meant to move.